I still remember the day last May when 1,000 students walked out of their classrooms to protest school district budget cuts. They emerged from City Hall's shadow and walked into the bright afternoon sunshine with signs and chants, confidence and determination. Fear is met and destroyed with courage, read a sign held high by a schoolgirl with fire in her eyes. As budget shortages gut public education in our city, as we witness the sale of schools for a fraction of their value, as we watch politicians tap dance around the defunding of schools, as we realize that this comes when white students are no longer the majority, I wonder if the rest of us can be as fiery as those students. Can we call out hypocrisy for what it is, just like Benny Ramos, who at the time was a student at the now shuttered Charles Carroll High School? "We're out here to stop the school-to-prison pipeline," he told me that day. I nodded, knowing that 1 in 5 Philadelphians is a high school dropout, and dropouts are more likely to be victims or perpetrators of Philadelphia street violence. Ramos's response was ironic, given that Philadelphia's 6-county prison spent $231 million to house 5,600 inmates in 2011, while running a $3.9 million deficit. But unlike the 24 schools that were shuttered because of the school district's $304 million spending gap last year, none of Philadelphia's county prisons is scheduled to close. And unlike our schools, none of them have been sold for just pennies on the dollar. Just last week, I was reminded of the reason those students were marching. Schools are no better off than they were then. In fact, schools will be dependent on a cigarette tax just to reach the bare minimum. And the school buildings that were shuttered last year are being sold to developers for just a fraction of their actual value. Bach High School, which was closed amidst the tears of heartbroken students, was valued at $17.8 million by the city, but it was sold for just $2.3 million to a developer. 10 more schools were also sold in the same manner, even though the school district is in desperate need of funding. That's wrong. But if we are to reestablish our schools as a priority, we must make our voices heard. The next step in the school sale process is to seek community input. And though I'm skeptical about the true power of the community's voice in this process, we must be heard just the same. Even if sales are already pending and agreements have already been made, the promised community engagement must be made to be more than just window dressing. In the words of student Benny Ramos, we want more supplies, less metal detectors, more teachers, and less budget cuts. And like Ramos, we must have one final message for those who would devalue education. "Yo, you can't hide," Ramos said. "We'll be right here." Indeed we will, Mr. Ramos. Indeed we will. For Aldea News Media and WURD Radio, I'm Solomon Jones.